When you think of old money Boston, a wealth of images might surface depending on your interests and personal history. Perhaps you envision the historical significance of one of America's oldest cities, laden with legendary churches and meeting houses dating back to the Revolutionary War. Or, like us here at Old Money Mansions, you might be captivated by the stunningly preserved opulence of the American Gilded Age, reflected in the architecture scattered throughout Boston. But here's the thing. Few periods in history match the glamour and lavish excess of the American Gilded Age. Spanning from roughly the 1870s to the 1900s, this era saw enormous fortunes amassed as the newly minted American tycoons, these titans of industry, found themselves awash in unprecedented wealth. And this age witnessed a remarkable surge in splendor, with the ultra-wealthy constructing vast mansions that dwarf the luxurious homes of modern-day billionaires in comparison. These Gilded Age-era Boston mansions, brimming with every extravagant detail, were more than just residences. They were potent symbols of an era drenched in wealth. With that said, settle into your luxurious wall-to-wall Gilded Age library filled with the world's finest books, and join us as we explore the 5 most amazing Gilded Age mansions in Boston that you can still visit today. Number 1. The Nichols House Museum, 55 Mount Vernon Street. The first home on our list of Gilded Age Boston mansions you can see today is nestled on the charming cobblestone streets of Beacon Hill. And the Nichols House Museum at 55 Mount Vernon Street offers a veritable feast of Federal-style architecture. Erected in 1804, the house was conceived by the illustrious Charles Bulfinch, a figure who holds the distinction of being one of America's pioneering native-born architects. Now Bulfinch, with his knack for neoclassical nuance, drew copious inspiration from his European jaunts, channeling the grandeur of Renaissance master Andrea Palladio and the genteel symmetry favoured by British stalwarts Sir Christopher Wren and Robert Adam. And this architectural gem forms part of a quaint row of townhouses originally constructed for the daughters and their families of politician Jonathan Mason, marking it as one of the earliest pearls in the Beacon Hill crown. The house's facade, a testament to the Federal style, boasts a brick construction with a Flemish bond pattern that exudes an air of restrained elegance. But it's not just the outside that winks at the well-versed connoisseur. Inside, the house is strategically divided by a central stairwell into a layout that's 1 room deep and 2 rooms wide, offering an intimate glimpse into the spatial dynamics of the era. Features such as recessed arches and a charming painted string course are complemented by later additions in the 1830s, including a Greek Revival portico that sports classically designed columns, a nod to the architectural trends du jour. Then, in 1885, Dr. Arthur Nichols and his wife Elizabeth decided to plant their family roots within these walls, raising their 3 daughters in this beacon of Boston's upper crust. The eldest, Rose Standish Nichols, emerged as a figure of considerable note, a landscape architect, suffragist, and peace activist. So, Rose, inheriting the house in 1930, envisioned a future for her familial abode beyond her demise, meticulously planning its transformation into a museum, which swung open its doors to the public in 1961, a year after her passing. The museum today serves as a window into the refined lifestyles of Boston's elite during the sunset of the 19th century and the dawn of the 20th. And the interior is a tasteful tableau of Victorian-era aesthetic movement, arts and crafts, and colonial revival styles, mirroring the Nichols family's eclectic tastes and the cultural ethos of their times. Visitors can marvel at a collection that spans from a Flemish tapestry dating back to the mid-16th century to Rose's personal needlework and wood carvings that are peppered throughout the home. The museum also delves into the stories of those who toiled behind the scenes, with special tours focusing on the lives of the servants, offering a holistic view of household dynamics during the era. For those with a penchant for ephemera, the museum doesn't disappoint. A glass vitrine in the reception area serves as a rotating showcase for smaller artifacts linked to the Nichols family's engagements in various social movements, from pacifism to women's suffrage. And for those desiring a more immersive experience, the museum's Brahmins and Bohemians walking tour promises a deeper exploration into the architectural and historical riches of Beacon Hill. The next home on our list was built more than 60 years later and adds even more Gilded Age opulence to your travel experience. Number 2. The Ames-Webster Mansion, 306 Dartmouth Street. The Ames-Webster Mansion, located at 306 Dartmouth Street in the venerable heart of Boston's Back Bay, whispers tales of opulence from its storied walls. Now a beacon of architectural grandeur, this Gilded Age marvel first opened its lavish doors in 1871, courtesy of the visionary minds at Peabody and Stearns. Designed originally for Stephen V. R. Thayer, a Harvard alum with apparently unlimited coffers, the mansion later enjoyed a sprucing up in 1882 by none other than John Hubbard Sturgis, another star in the architectural firmament. And its corridors have echoed with the footsteps of Boston's industrial titans and cultural patrons, notably Frederick Lothrop Ames, who had a knack for hiring only the crème de la crème of craftsmen and artists to elevate his abode to masterpiece status. Now, the mansion's architectural palette is a rich combination of styles, flaunting both its 1871 origins and the swank 1882 enhancements. Here, the devil is truly in the details. Painted woodwork that dances with life, fireplaces that could host a small gala, and plasterwork so ornate it borders on the theatrical. These elements have been lovingly preserved, or in some cases artfully recreated, to maintain the mansion's historical integrity during its more recent facelifts. And what a series of facelifts these have been. After hitting the real estate runway in 2010 with a tag of $23 million, it eventually played hard to get before settling into the arms of FL Holdings for a cool $14.5 million in 2013. And the new proprietors, led by a Saudi sheikh with a vision as grand as the mansion itself, have since poured an eye-watering $35 million into its rejuvenation. Therefore, the mastermind behind the current revamp, Hamadi Architects, has been tasked with a delicate balancing act, preserving the mansion's historical essence while splitting it into 3 ultra-luxe condos, because why have one palatial residence when you can have 3? The heart of the renovation beats strongest, perhaps, in the breakfast room, now a sanctum for skilled artisans recreating the original painted woodwork. And the blueprint for the future includes not just any condos, but a triad of them, each starting at the modest price of $20 million. And for the pièce de résistance, a triplex penthouse that promises to redefine luxury living in Boston. In its latest avatar, the Ames-Webster Mansion is not just an address, but a statement, a bold declaration of historical reverence married to modern luxury. As the restoration nears its climax, the mansion is poised to reclaim its throne as one of Boston's most prestigious landmarks. However, the next Gilded Age home on our list will not be converted, but is rather still preserved in its Gilded Age style. Number 3. The Gibson House Museum, 137 Beacon Street. The Gibson House Museum, elegantly perched at 137 Beacon Street within the architectural embrace of Boston's Back Bay, serves as a pristine time capsule of Victorian-era splendor. Constructed between the pivotal years of 1859 and 1860, this row house was among the pioneers in the freshly minted Back Bay district, an ambitious urban expansion over the Charles River's marshlands. And the story of the Gibson House begins with Catherine Hammond Gibson, a widow with an eye for opulence, who in 1859 ventured from Beacon Hill's lofty environs to secure this plot for a substantial $3,900, equal to $140,000 today. She then enlisted Edward Clark Cabot, an architect of considerable repute, who carved out a residence in the Italian Renaissance style, a symphony in brownstone and red brick. The residence boasted high ceilings, large, inviting windows and ornate plasterwork that echoed the grandeur of its era. Upon Catherine's passing, the residence found its next steward in her son, Charles Hammond Gibson, who, along with his bride Rosamond Warren, a scion of Boston's elite, imbued the home with touches of East Asian elegance, including Japanese wallpapers. The Gibson lineage subsequently graced its corridors for 3 generations, culminating with Charles Hammond Gibson Jr., whose death in 1954 pivoted the house from private residence to public museum by 1957, thus sealing the family's aesthetic legacy within its walls. Today, the Gibson House stands as a bastion of Victorian architecture and interior design. The museum is a treasure trove preserved in amber. Its rooms are clad in original wallpapers, textiles and furnishings, each artifact whispering tales from a bygone elite. Visitors can walk both public and private quarters, from the stately parlour and dining room to the grand staircase that ascends with dignity through the house's heart. The kitchen, scullery and butler's pantry peel back the curtain on the household staff's daily endeavours, offering a glimpse into the era's social stratifications. Elevated to a Boston landmark in 1992 and further distinguished as a National Historic Landmark in 2001, the Gibson House Museum now operates as an icon of history, preserved by a dedicated non-profit organisation. Moreover, the Gibson House has flirted with the silver screen, lending its authentic backdrop to productions like The Bostonians and Greta Gerwig's adaptation of Little Women. The museum also serves as a vibrant cultural hub, hosting lectures, public programs, and receptions that breathe contemporary life into its historical confines. And a nod to Charles Hammond Gibson Jr.'s flair for Prohibition-era revelry is its annual Repeal Day celebration, complete with period cocktails that toast to freedoms restored. However, the next Boston mansion on our list ups the luxury to even higher heights with a connection to the legendary Tiffany's jewelry chain. Number 4. The Ayer Mansion, 395 Commonwealth Avenue. The Ayer Mansion, at 395 Commonwealth Avenue, also in the historic area of Boston's Back Bay, radiates as a singular jewel in the crown of American architecture. Designed by the illustrious Louis Comfort Tiffany between 1899 and 1902, this property basks in the unique glory of being the world's only surviving residence to feature both interior and exterior designs by Tiffany. And as a National Historic Landmark, it stands as a beacon of artistic and architectural innovation. Originally commissioned by Frederick Ayer, a titan of the textile world as owner of the American Woolen Company, the mansion breaks from the traditional red brick townhouses of its environs with a facade of pale granite. This exterior is punctuated by opulent mosaic panels that sparkle with a distinct Tiffany flair, casting a spell of allure from the outset. Sprawling across 15,000 square feet and 5 stories, the Ayer Mansion is a treasure trove of Tiffany's design principles. And the facade features not just granite, but also intricate limestone details, and is crowned by a stained glass half-moon window, setting a dramatic prelude to the opulence within. The mansion's grand entrance is marked by a proscenium arch framing a trompe-l'œil mosaic depicting a Greek temple, hinting at the wonders to follow. Inside, the architectural symphony continues with a central Tiffany glass ceiling light that cascades through the building's 5 floors, encircled by an elegant oval staircase. This stairway itself is a masterpiece, with marble risers adorned in a mosaic of greens, blues and golds, Tiffany's homage to the art of glass. Throughout the mansion, stained glass features prominently, with expansive windows and elaborate panels that filter natural light into a spectrum of colours. And each room within the Ayer Mansion bears the hallmark of Tiffany's attention to detail. From the elaborate plaster mouldings and rich timber panelling to the unique fireplace surrounds, every element has been designed to create an immersive aesthetic experience. After the death of Frederick Ayer in 1918, the mansion's story took various turns. It was transformed into office space and later acquired by the Roman Catholic Opus Dei organization in 1964, serving as a residential facility for college students. The journey of the mansion continued into the 21st century, with significant preservation efforts breathing new life into its features. The restoration works have revealed hidden gems like a 24-foot ley light, previously concealed for decades, and the original floral patterned ceiling in the front living room, alongside meticulous restoration of the interior mosaics. Then, in 2022, the mansion was put on the market for $17 million, with plans underway to adapt it for contemporary living while safeguarding its historic essence. Proposed updates include modern luxuries such as a gym, a rooftop terrace and underground parking, ensuring that the mansion's legacy as a complete Tiffany-designed environment continues to enchant and educate visitors about the creative genius of one of America's most celebrated designers. The Ayer mansion thus remains not merely a structure, but a narrative of artful endurance and cultural memory, a monument to the past and a canvas for the future. Number 5. The Otis House, 141 Cambridge Street. Nestled at 141 Cambridge Street in the historic fabric of Boston's West End, the Otis House beams as a pivotal landmark, bridging the architectural narrative and societal nuances of the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Now, this esteemed property not only serves as a museum, but also functions as the nerve center for historic New England, a dedicated regional preservation organization. Constructed in 1796, the design of the Otis House sprang from the imaginative prowess of Charles Bulfinch, celebrated for his influence on America's architectural landscape. And this residence, the first of 3 homes he designed for Harrison Gray Otis, a noted lawyer, politician, and real estate mogul, stands as a prime exemplar of the federal style. This architectural style is distinguished by its symmetrical facade, featuring 5 bays, refined by additions such as a graceful entrance post 1801, an elegant Palladian window, a lunette window crowning the 3rd floor, and sophisticated string courses that underscore its stately aesthetic. Inside, the influence of designer Robert Adam permeates, lending a touch of classical grace that complements the structural design. Today, the Otis House encapsulates more than just architectural brilliance. It embodies the lifestyle and social stratifications of Boston's Federal-era elite, presented through meticulously preserved period rooms. Visitors to the Otis House are treated to guided tours that delve into the lives of the Otis family, their servants, and subsequent occupants when the residence transitioned into a genteel boarding house. The exhibits unfurl the opulence of high-style living in the Federal period, juxtaposed with narratives of Boston's evolving urban landscape, accessible across 3 floors of immersive period rooms. And the journey of the Otis House through time is marked by concerted preservation efforts. Acquired in 1916 by the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities, now known as Historic New England, the house was physically moved back 40 feet in the 1920s to escape demolition amid Cambridge Street's widening, speaking to the era's urban expansion challenges. It further withstood the drastic transformations of the West End during the urban renewal drives of the 1950s and 60s. In a visionary stride towards the future, Historic New England is currently collaborating with architecture firms to reimagine the Otis House complex, crafting a multifaceted vision that marries historical reverence with modern urban needs. Through its enduring presence and adaptive reuse, the Otis House continues to serve as a living repository of Boston's architectural and social history. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. Are you a native of Boston? And have you been to any of these incredible mansions? We thrive off our community's opinions, so be sure to leave your thoughts below. And thanks again for joining us for another episode of Old Money Mansions. Cheers until next time.